One of the biggest mysteries of the year 2020 was this unknown Italo Disco or Euro Disco track playing on a videotape recording of a party in Goa back in the season of 1989. After thousands of hours of collective searching, the missing track was finally found last week. In this video, we'll try to answer all your questions. This is the story of the search. But how did all this start in the first place? In 2014, user Barbara Lowe uploaded a video compilation called Communicate on YouTube, describing it as Zwick's video from 89 through 90, more Goa parties. Part 3 of the video included a particular Italo Disco style track that sparked interest. The track was very unique because it contained various elements from different musical styles. The slow tempo and rumbling rhythm sound like the Belgium new beat style of the late 80s. The guitar sounds and high-pitched screaming would suggest hard rock influences, while the prevailing organ riff reminds us of progressive rock. Excessive use of the FM synthesizer sound effects are linked with synth pop. The cheesy chorus is pure Italo Disco or Euro Disco, which could suggest the track being some kind of mega mix. It's also notable that the track has several references to Western movies, including adaptations of the Western-themed song Witchy Woman by the Eagles, and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly movie soundtrack by Ennio Morricone. The exaggerated scream of death may hint to spaghetti westerns, while some of the sound effects could mimic gunshots and fighting. In September 2019, a user of the Discogs music database website opened a thread on the Italo Disco forum. In the first post, he linked a YouTube video cropped from the original one to include only the specific track. He asked for help in identifying a track he'd already been looking for so long already. This is when and where everything went mad. People were trying to transcribe and write out the lyrics, but it was very difficult with the audio quality of the video being pretty bad. The first searches began, with the lyrics heard as follows: "I've been playing by the rules," or "fool," or maybe "moon." Although rather uncertain, this didn't stop a bunch of freaks from spending hours on the Discogs website digging deeper and deeper to find a ghost from the past. A few of them tried to identify the DJ who played that specific track, the most obvious guess being a Frenchman called Laurent, the most prominent DJ in the 80s Goa scene. Unfortunately, he was totally untraceable for years, looking for calm and peace somewhere in East Asia. In the beginning of 2020, the world was being locked down for COVID-19 restrictions. This allowed people to have more time for searching for the track and asking record collectors and experts around the globe, including Fleming Delum, Beppe Lora, and Daniele Baldelli. Nobody knew this mysterious track, but everyone wanted to know what it was. In August 2020, the music producer Alessandro Parisi posted a reconstruction of the track based on the YouTube video. Assuming nobody would ever solve the mystery, he put the elements of his reconstruction available for everyone in an open source manner. Alessandro breathed new air into the search because even more people discovered the original video and started searching. Things were getting bigger as the reconstruction was being played in radio mixes and record labels wanted to release it on vinyl. Alessandro refused many times, telling him he didn't own the rights for the track. At this moment, people got a bit tired of digging around, but a small group of enthusiasts never gave up. They decided to create a private chat group to work in the best way, together. The chat group was gathered together by a French DJ called Monodominical, who had started the search in September 2019 and had already spent endless hours searching through different clues. The group consisted of collectors and 80s music enthusiasts who had already been involved in the search. One of the members was sure that it wasn't DJ Laurent playing the track, as he would only play instrumental music without vocals. Another member had researched the 80s Goa scene through his own mixtapes and was sure that almost all tracks played at that time in Goa were from official record releases. The search team remained positive, but it was clear that first-hand information was crucial for solving the mystery. Goa is a state in India with a lot of beaches where travellers have met each other since the 60s. Starting in the 70s, they organised parties for full moon and other occasions. Since the 80s, DJs were playing all kinds of electronic music there, including styles like electro, techno, industrial electronic body music, synth pop, Italo Disco and new beat. Later in the 90s, these sounds would evolve into a new music style called Goa trance. Every night there was a spontaneous party somewhere on the beach, sometimes even 2 or 3 parties at the same time. Crazy dancers exchanged music they brought from all over the world. By coincidence, one guy happened to film at this particular party, but usually cameras were not welcome. Andy, the techno veteran, joined the private search group to provide much-needed first-hand information from the 80s Goa scene. He'd gone to these parties for many years and knew the DJs. Andy had retained his huge collection of compact cassette tapes from the era, containing hours and hours of music played by the Goa DJs. Unfortunately, our track was not found in his tape collection, and some of the tapes were lost or broken during the years. Luckily, Andy also had a VHS videotape containing footage from various Goa parties from the 1989 season, filmed by his friend Zvik. There it was, the same party, and the track with the description text reading "Baga people at Vagator, March 26th. So the video was most likely filmed on Monday morning of the 26th of March 1990 for the 1989 Goa season. Andy knew that the party was organised by the Amsterdam Balloon Company and was supposed to take place in Baga, but was moved to Vagator Beach instead. Digitising the videotape provided better quality than the original YouTube upload. From the brief moment of the camera zooming into the DJ booth, Andy was finally able to recognise the DJ playing our track. It was DJ Rolf. This could mean a massive breakthrough in the search, as one could now try to contact the DJ and simply ask him which track he was playing. Unfortunately, Rolf could not be reached, but Andy knew that he was always DJing along with his friend Louis. Eventually, Andy was able to contact Louis to receive some promising information. He confirmed that it was indeed Rolf playing the track around midday as the last track of the party. According to Louis, Rolf wanted to play the track already around sunrise, but Louis vetoed it because the track could have been too sugary for the moment. Although it was a track always played by Rolf, Louis used to have it on some of his old tapes too. Unfortunately, going through his tapes didn't help, leading the search to another dead end. In February 2021, user Borsexon, apparently named after the 1984 German synth pop project, posted a comment on one of the YouTube videos. "We sold this in our record shop. In fact, it was unsold for many years, and we still had a copy in 1993. And I think the artist was Alexander Rouge or Alexander something beginning with R. It was on a white label, and that's all I remember." Unfortunately, nothing was found with that name. But this clue gave some hope to the search team that a vinyl release of the track could really exist. And we know the track was eventually found. But how? Before revealing the final missing piece of our puzzle, let's travel back in time. In the 1960s, a young female singer called Renate Kern had a promising career in Germany with multiple hit singles. At the peak of her success in 1970, she achieved second place at the German Schlager competition and even went on a world tour. In the early 70s, Renate built a big 2-family house in Hoyerswerda, near Bremen, and married sound engineer Klaus-Dieter Hildebrand in 1974. Renate went on to take her career in her own hands, and together with her husband, they built a small recording studio inside their house. Towards the end of the 1970s, Renate and Klaus-Dieter decided to rebuild their home studio for a bigger one, and made significant investments, including the first MCI mixing console in Germany. The studio was called Tonstudio Heusweg. These photos are from an interview of Klaus-Dieter in the 1979 issue of the German Studio magazine. The list of studio equipment already includes Minimoog and Roland synthesizers, amongst others. Going back to the early 70s, a gentleman called Axel Frey was starting his own musical career in Germany. We were lucky to reach him for an email interview. So, let the man speak in his own words. "I've played in several bands for the last 50 years or so. We started in the early 70s songwriting our own stuff, mostly rock-orientated songs like Deep Purple, Wishbone Ash and so on. Later in the 80s we played the charts as a cover band. All the time I was also writing songs for other people." Axel's first father-in-law was a craftsman who did some repairing for Renate and Klaus, who lived nearby. Axel started making music with Klaus and recorded a single for Renata. Later, he helped to rebuild the Heuswig studio and was there almost every day. In the 1980s, Renata had relaunched her career as a country singer, Nancy Wood, having some chart success even in the United States. Modern country was also Axel's favourite music from the 80s until today. But how did he end up producing an electronic disco track? And yes, we are finally talking about the mysterious track of ours here. It was the time of synthesizers. We used them in our band, so they found their way into the studio in Hoyerswerda. Everyone used them, even in country music. Axel wrote the song and its lyrics, programmed the synthesizers, and was also singing the vocals himself. They mixed the track together with Klaus Dieter and was released by the German record label Eichhorn in 1986. I had the song Witchy Woman from the Eagles unconsciously in my mind. I found that out later. The B-side of the record is our particular interest. Here's how Axel described the special instrumental mix, which has lots of sound effects going on. Just for fun, everyone was producing maxi singles. No deeper sense. We had only the DX7 for effects. The most popular synthesizer of that time was the Yamaha DX7. For producing the track, Axel used the Yamaha TX816 rack version, which had 8 DX7 synth modules along with a Yamaha QX1 hardware sequencer. This was the only electronic dance track Axel ever produced, and he had forgotten it completely. He wasn't aware that DJs were playing his music at the beach parties in Goa, and finds that unbelievable. According to Axel, he never earned 1 cent from the song. His musical career is still respectable. I made live music until 2001. Hoyerswerda was given up by Klaus since Renate died in 1992. I wrote songs for other people and played live with the band. I made a lot of songs for a band called Moonbeats, and in the 2000s also for a Schlager band called Tanzpalais. We thank Axel for the interview and remind our viewers that he doesn't have the master tapes of the track with him or any spare vinyl records to sell. Please don't try to contact him. But what was that missing piece of the puzzle? How was the track found? The Bursexon clue on YouTube seemed credible, but maybe after 25 years, it would be difficult to remember the artist's name exactly. So instead of Alexander, simply using the variation Axel as a search term inside the Discogs music database, revealed one record having a Native American themed title. Geronimo. Now let's hear it straight from the original 12-inch vinyl record. Axel F. Geronimo, special instrumental mix.
CBS. Serious. Geronimo, I hear you calling loud in the night. Geronimo, calling for the very last fight. Geronimo, the red men come from miles around. Geronimo, fighting the suppression down. Oh, oh, don't you know that there's nothing? Oh, oh, you better give it in. Oh, oh, they will be stronger than you. Don't you fool? They play you cool. Geronimo, don't you want to settle down? Geronimo, this fight in life will bring you down. All alone, you turn away from all your friends. Don't you know? This fight will be your bitter end. Oh, 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 don't you know that you're a fool? Oh, 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 don't they play it all too cool? Oh, oh, don't you know that it's the end for you and you better know your ends.
The cybernetic broadcasting system. Geronimo, I hear you calling loud in the night. Geronimo, calling for the very last fight. Geronimo, the red men come from miles around. Geronimo, fighting the suppression down. Oh, oh, don't you know that there's no sin? Oh, oh, you better give it in. Oh, oh, they won't be stronger than you. So don't you fool? They play you cool. Don't you know that you're a fool?
Serious.